Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If you are a returning subscriber, thank you so much for tuning in. And if you are seeing this face for the first time, you know what to do. Click on that red subscribe button and please do share this video with your friends and tell them to share with your friends, because you don't want to be known as that guy or baby girl who is stingy with information. Okay, so finally the highly requested video is here. We are talking finances, all things money. Bear in mind that our lifestyles are not the same, right? You might need to spend less or more depending on your lifestyle. And also, when you arrive here, you're gonna feel the pain because you're gonna be withdrawing money from your South African account, of which the rand is weaker than the currency here. So you're going to be feeling it. So if you do yourself a favor and buy a lot of cosmetics, which I did, I stocked up on cosmetics when coming here, and it actually helped me a lot, considering the fact that I only got my first salary after 5 months of being in China. Imagine 5 months. Obviously, it was because of the virus that broke out, right? COVID-19, guys. It dealt with me accordingly. But one thing about me is I was overly prepared. But I was just so anxious every month, thinking that I'm going to go bankrupt before I even get my first salary, right? And you might be thinking right now that, Jeanette, why did you have to wait 5 months before you got your first salary? Girl, when I left home, I had a contract in my hand stating that you're going to be working for this company, we're going to give you a salary on this day and so forth. But when I arrived here, they told me that no, baby girl, that was a provisional contract. You are going to sign the final contract after New Year. I mean, I arrived here about 3 weeks before the Chinese New Year, and honestly, I'm so pissed about the fact that I could have arrived here after Chinese New Year, but they were making it seem like, oh my word, you need to be here, we need teachers and so forth. And I was so pissed. But anyway, that's not why you're watching this video. What I'm trying to tell you is that when I arrived here, they told me that, okay, Jeanette, you're going to be busy with your visa basically, and you will sign your final contract after New Year's. And that never happened, because after New Year, what happened? The virus broke out. And what happened? Baby girl was stuck in an apartment she was paying for with her South African savings for months on end. That was hectic, guys. But anyway, basically in this video, I'm going to be telling you how much it actually cost me, how much I actually spent from the day I bought a ticket to China. I bought a flight ticket, that is, to China, until the day I got my first paycheck. First things first, the most important thing that you don't want to be happening in your South African account while you're in China is having major or big debit orders going through every month. You don't want that. So I made sure that before I left home, I paid off my car, so that the only debit orders I had going through my South African account were just my life insurances, funeral insurances, retirement annuity and so forth. Just those insurances. And that's like not that much money, to be honest. That wasn't a lot of money. It still isn't actually. So that's one thing that I'd advise everyone to do. Pay off whatever you need to pay off before immigrating to another country, so that you don't have to stress about the debit orders every month. Let's get straight into the finances. I'm gonna try and put up all the amounts on screen for you, because obviously you might miss out on some numbers that I'm going to mention. I mean, it's a lot of money that a girl has been spending since I arrived here. The first thing I spent money on when coming here is obviously my flight ticket to China. I flew here in December, 26th of December to be exact. So at that time, obviously, it's the festive season. Flight tickets are expensive, and also I needed someone to collect me at the airport. So I needed to make sure that I arrive here during daytime, and also I don't spend too much time in the plane. That's one thing I didn't want to do. So I got a flight ticket. I flew Qatar Airways. That was a bit expensive. At that time, it was expensive, but right now it's basically cheap because flights are expensive right now. It was 9,000. Let me check, guys. I'm going to be checking through. I'm going to be looking down a lot because I mean, this is money we're talking about. I don't want to get any figures wrong. So I remember my flight ticket was 9,200 with insurance, because I'm the girl who loves insurances. So that's how much I paid for my flight. And then secondly, the hotel. Guys, my school told me that, Jeanette, you pay for everything. When you arrive here, you pay for your hotel, you pay for your visa, and we will definitely reimburse you for that. They also actually reimbursed me for the visa costs in South Africa. Just the visa, not the authentication, just the visa in South Africa. I gave them a slip and they actually paid me back. So the hotel that I booked cost me 2,000 Rand for 7 days. It wasn't really a nice hotel. I mean, if you have been watching my videos, you will know exactly how that hotel looked like. It wasn't fancy or anything. It was just a hotel. The visa cost me 1,500. I remember I had to pay some amount when doing my medical, because once you arrive in China, you also have to do your medical in order to complete your visa process. So I remember I forgot my medical records in South Africa. So when I got here, I had to pay for something. I think the x-ray, I had to pay for the x-ray when I arrived here, but they also reimbursed me for that. So everything, the visa, the medical costs and everything, all of that cost 1,500 Rands. I'm going to try and put the amounts on screen for you guys, as well as convert the amounts that I'm going to mention in Chinese yuan to South African rands. So when I first arrived here, obviously you need to get a SIM card, all of that admin, getting a SIM card, getting a train ticket and so forth, all of that just cost me 150 yuan. And the first week when I arrived here, I was just spending money. I was just like, ah man, I've arrived in China and I'm going to be starting work soon and getting my first salary. And I mean, I have a lot of savings. Well, it wasn't that much, but I was just like, at least I have savings to last me two months. So I can just spend on whatever. So the first week, I spent 1,000 yuan in 7 days. On food, on transport. Transport wasn't really much. Actually, it was, because that time I couldn't even use the DD. Yeah, so that transport, getting around, entertaining myself, food, eating Western food, because I wasn't like, I was not used to the taste of Chinese food at that time. So as I remember, I was eating a lot of McDonald's at that time. So yeah, basically the first week I spent 1,000 yuan. Also, for extra information, guys, I found that when I was withdrawing at least 1,000 yuan from my South African account, the fees would be 100 rands. And then, for instance, when I'm swiping, it would cost like a quarter of that. But the problem, here's the trick. You can't always rely on swiping, as much as it is cheap, but you can't always rely on swiping, because not every place in China accepts American Express cards or Visa cards. So you always have to have cash in hand when you first arrive here. So after my stay at the hotel, I had to move to an apartment. If you have been watching my videos, you will have seen that I went apartment hunting in my first week and so forth. So I got a bachelor apartment that was really small. It didn't have a kitchen. They had like a communal kitchen somewhere, which was a gross AF. But anyway, I knew that in my first month I will be eating a lot of takeouts. That's why I went with that apartment. Actually, the other reason why I went with that apartment, it was very close to work. It was like one train station away from work. Secondly, they had a special going on. They were saying that I don't have to pay a deposit if I'm gonna stay there for 2 months only. So I was like, okay, good. 2 months is good enough for me to find an apartment that I will make a home. So I took that offer, not knowing that the management was changing. Mind you, in China, most of the places do want 2 months rental deposit. So that means if the apartment is 3,000 yuan, you will have to pay basically 9,000 yuan in order for you to move into that apartment, which is 3,000 for the first month and 6,000 as your deposit. And that was just a lot of money, guys. It was just a whole lot of money, especially when you're coming here with your weak currency. It's just too much. So I was glad to find a place that was like no deposit, baby girl. I was like, oh, I am definitely going with the no deposit until I can save up enough deposit money to get the apartment I will love wholeheartedly. So yeah, I took that apartment. It was 3,500 a month. So when I arrived there, I paid for the month of January. And I went to IKEA, I bought bedding and just things to get me started off in an apartment. I mean, detergents, cutlery, crockery, you name it. But I only bought for an individual because I knew that I was not getting visitors anytime soon. And I was just only there for like 2 months only. And I was going to spend most of my time eating takeouts. So yeah, so basically what I spent money on in January would be 3,500 yuan for the rent and 2,000 rand on bedding and detergents and basically household stuff that I bought from IKEA. When I went to IKEA, I actually swiped my card. That's why I'm mentioning it in rands, because I swiped my South African card. So come February, I have to pay rent again, which is 3,500. That time, the management has changed. I asked them how much I have to pay for lights and electricity. They told me that, oh no, we will tell you later on. Basically, they didn't get a proper handover, which is a thing here in China. But anyway, they didn't get proper handover. Their books were a mess. So they didn't really understand what was happening. So I didn't pay for water and electricity in January. That was good for me. The other thing is February. That's when I actually realized that, okay, the virus had hit China very, very hard at that time. That time it was still an epidemic. We had to go back to work in February, and that didn't happen. Remember, I still haven't signed my official contract yet. So meaning a girl is not getting paid. So they tell me that, oh no, you can't get paid because we haven't signed the official contract yet. So meaning another month that I have to go through using my South African savings still. So rent 3,500 yuan, food and entertainment, I basically spent 2,000 yuan because I went shopping a little bit and I was still eating takeouts at that time. At the end of February, I had to move out. Remember, I signed a 2 months contract. So at the end of February, I thought I'd be moving to a proper apartment that I'll be making a home, a proper apartment with a kitchen and an oven and everything I need in an apartment. And that didn't happen because things don't always go according to plan. But you always need to be financially prepared for such things. So a girl was prepared, I guess. At that time, I was like, I still got money. So I'm going to move to another apartment. But this time, I'm going to move to an Airbnb. So I got an Airbnb, which was a very, very cute apartment. I loved that apartment so much. It was so cute. It was a loft actually. So I moved to a loft. At that time, it was a bit cheaper, obviously because of the virus that time. So they were not making as much money. There were no tourists at that time. So I got an apartment that was really, really far from work. I got that. I think it was 500 cheaper than the apartment that I was living in. So I booked that for 2 months, 2 months up front, because I was like, I don't know when this epidemic or pandemic is going to end. So let me just be prepared for the next 2 months at least. So basically I paid 6,000 yuan, but I'll just separate it into March and April. So I moved. Before I moved, I had to pay for my water and electricity, right? End of February, I had to pay for my water and electricity, and they told me it was a 150 yuan. So that means they only calculated my water and electricity bill for February, because they don't know how much I spent on that in January. I moved out to the new apartment. What I did was I only bought basics, and I started having a strict budget for my food, and I only ate takeouts once or twice a week, and for 5 days I would cook. Luckily that loft had a kitchen. One of the reasons that I made sure that I get when moving to the next apartment was that it has to have a kitchen, because I was obviously tired of eating takeouts, and obviously my bank was also tired of all the takeouts. It wasn't just because of me. So anyway, so basically in March I spent 3,000 yuan on rent and 1,000 yuan on food. Remember, at that time people were starting to pack up, people were going home at that time, and I was just stuck here thinking, baby girl, looking at my bank account, I was like, baby girl, if you dare go home, you don't have money to come back. I didn't have money to be flying back home and back. I was like, the only money I have left in my account is just enough for me to survive until this pandemic is over. I obviously didn't know when it was going to end, but I was just like hopeful that in a few months time it will all end. So I was like, girl, you don't have money to be buying flight tickets back home and back here. Just don't do it. As much as I was like, oh, envying these people who are buying flight tickets back home, I just couldn't do that. I couldn't afford that luxury. Also, I was just like, I just arrived here. Why should I be going back home? What would I be doing back home? Nothing. So let me just stay here and wait for everything to be sorted out. So also one thing that I did in February when I realized that things are not getting any better is that I contacted my school and I asked them, guys, please, can you just help me with my accommodation? Because obviously I'm someone who plans ahead. Beginning of the month, I would plan for the next month already. Make sure that I have enough money for rent and food for the coming month, not just that month that I'll be in. So I asked my school to at least help me with the rent. And then my school was like, okay, it's fine. We will give you 2,000 yuan for now. So they were like, we will definitely be deducting this amount when you start working. I was like, okay, it's fine. That time I didn't even care. I was just like, whatever, as long as at least I can see money in my account, especially my Chinese account, which was practically always empty. So I just put that money in my account and used it for mostly food, because usually for rent I would use my South African money. April comes and then I realized that, okay, looks like things are not getting any better, so I need to try and organize for May now. So I started planning for May. Obviously it's not a contract, let me just say I need to extend my stay at the Airbnb. So I asked the landlord to extend my stay to at least the end of May, because I was initially booked for March and April. So I was like, I need to extend to the end of May. So I extended to the end of May. But in May, he told me that, babes, if you're going to be extending to the end of May, you need to know that in May there is a national holiday, and I might be getting tourists, like local tourists. So the rent for May is going to be slightly higher. In April, my school gave me another 2,000 yuan, because I told them that they need to give me money for rent. but I didn't tell them exactly how much my rent was. So every month I just like, because I was thinking about the fact that they're going to deduct that money when I start working, I just asked less than what I actually needed. So in April, I spent 3,000 yuan on rent and 1,000 yuan on food as well. Remember, I was living on a tight budget. I was only buying basics. Come end of March, I realized that, guys, we are how many months? 4 months deep. And we are still going. Things are not getting any better. I start stressing now that, oh my word, Jeanette, I had only planned for 2 months. 2 months of no salary in China. But now I'm already on 4 months. So in total now, my school had given me 5,000 at that point. Early May, I happened to find a job. My agent happened to find me a job, and she was like, it's a 3 months contract. So hopefully by the end of 3 months, you will, your school in Guangzhou will probably be open by then. So I had to now ask my school to give me a transfer. What that actually means is that my school had to cancel my a residence permit, and then I needed to apply for another residence permit and work permit in another city. At that time, no one was sick. They had no new reported cases for at least 3 months. So this province was starting to reopen their schools at that time. So that's why I had to come here. Guangzhou was still like a hotspot at that time. They were not gonna open anytime soon. So I took the 3 months offer, which happened to be 12 months after I worked the 3 months. I decided to just stay. So basically, in May, I only stayed in Guangzhou for 15 days. So I told my landlord that, okay, I'll pay for 15 days. And he gave me an amount for 15 days. So I paid the rent for 15 days. I think it was 1,500. And then I obviously started spending, knowing that I had already found a job. I started buying a few things, a few nice things for myself, knowing that, man, I don't need to worry anymore. But one thing, before I left, my school didn't just let me go. So they were like, before you leave, you need to give us our 5,000. Okay, fine, we will let you leave, but you need to give us our 5,000 before you leave, at least that. But also you need to bear in mind that if you don't come back, you are going to have to pay us our visa money back, because we gave you money for the visa and all of that. We spent too much money on you and whatever. They gave me a lot of trouble. I went back and forth with them for like at least a week. So eventually I told my parents about this. My parents were like, no, you need to go. That time 5,000 yuan was 15,000 rands. That was a lot of money. And I was like, 15,000 rand. At that time I was almost broke. I didn't have that much. I think I had only 8,000 rands left in my account at that time. I was like, I really need to leave this place, and I don't have the money that they're asking for. So my mom was like, okay, it's fine, I'll send you 15,000 rands. Just get rid of them. Those people were not helpful for the past few months. So you gotta go. I don't know what I would have done without my mom stepping in, because at that time, I mean, if I hadn't taken up this opportunity, I don't know where I'd be. Like, I was close to going bankrupt. Like 8,000 rands was not even enough for rent. For the following month's rent, it wasn't enough. So luckily my mom helped out, and then I was able to leave. The school was like, okay, you're gonna go for training for a week. After training, we're gonna give you a training allowance. So that's when I was like, man, I'm chilled. I can start chowing my money however I want to. I spent, I think, 2,000 yuan on food. Mind you, for the past few months I had been spending 1,000 yuan on food. That month it changed to 2,000 yuan. And then I had to pay for my clothes and some of the things that I had bought, especially bedding and stuff, because it was expensive. So I couldn't leave my bedding there. So to transport all of that, and my shoes are heavy, so I was like, because I'm flying, the maximum luggage weight is less, right? So I had to send all my shoes and bedding and yeah, a couple of things to where I am right now before I actually came. And at the airport, obviously, because I'm very bad at packing, at the airport my luggage was still too big for me to fly, so I had to pay extra, I think 150 yuan. So basically that month, so I'd say the transport and the relocation cost me all in all 350 yuan, right? When I arrived here, actually I didn't just get paid immediately. Yes, I got my training allowance a week after training, and then when I arrived here, I think I spent a week indoors without working. So that meant I wasn't getting any money. And then before they paid me, and that month's salary was obviously not that much. It was like less than a quarter of what I'm supposed to be getting. So meaning I also had another month that I had to live on a strict budget, because I mean I only had a quarter of my salary, as well as the training allowance that I have received from after training, right? So another month went by on a strict budget, and eventually I received a full month's salary in July, mid-July, because I get paid mid-month. That's basically when I got my first full salary, mid-July. Imagine January, February, March, April, May, June, July. That's when I started living my life. So guys, I really hope that no one has to go through what I went through, but at least have an idea of how much you would spend on a monthly basis when you arrive here, at least until you get your first salary. It also is dependent on which city you are in. I mean, you can go to another city which will cost you less, which has cheaper apartments. Guangzhou is fairly expensive. I mean, it's a tier 1 city, so if you go to a tier 2 city or tier 3 city, you might not have to spend as much on accommodation and only have to spend on groceries and all. Yeah, but I just wanted to give you a rough idea and feeling of how much exactly you will need when you come to China. I hope this video is insightful and has given you a clear idea, or understanding rather, of what to expect and how much you should put away in order to be financially safe, right? Even if there are any hurdles or obstacles or hiccups that you're gonna come across, you are always financially ready. So thank you so much for watching, guys. Don't forget to subscribe, because I will be giving you more vlogs and more TEFL related information. That is all from me. See you in my next video.